responsibility.
Finishing this fight.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome into the Lore Council. This is Cade here today with Keith.
Hello.
And we are going to be talking about kind of just our, little, tidbit, kind of dating ourselves here in April of 2021. And we're going to kind of be talking about, the state of Star Wars, I guess you could say, and kind of just give our thoughts on, just Star Wars in general, in the year 2021. And, kind of explain some stuff. We have some good stuff planned for this episode, kind of talking about, later into the episode, we'll kind of get into gatekeeping and a bit of the differences, and why people might prefer Legends versus Canon, and etc. So, stick around, and it should be a pretty interesting show today. So, basically, here, Keith and I, we have slated to talk about first, kind of just our opinions on, I guess, just Legends versus, the current canon. So I'll let you, skedaddle and start on it first.
Right, well, I love Star Wars Legends. It's the Star Wars continuity that I grew up with. You know, it's what I just always had as the Star Wars timeline. I always connected Legends with the movies. You know, never thought that they contradict each other very much. And, I mean, I don't know what else to say besides I like Legends, I guess.
Well, I guess what would kind of your reasons for, not getting into canon be? Just kind of, why you prefer the one over the other.
Yeah, I guess, it's just because I know the Legends timeline so well. You know, whenever, you get so much more when you read, a Legends comic or a novel, because you'll get, references from, other eras and stuff like that totally line up, and it just immerses you that much more in the world. And I've said this before, but I still believe it. And Legends just has it also just has a lot more to offer, just in terms of variety of eras, and they're just also different, but they're all still Star Wars. There's nothing too crazy.
Mm-hmm.
At least in the stuff I like.
So is it just a familiarity that's basically just I guess kind of to rephrase my question, what is preventing you from picking up canon? Is it just I
don't know, it's I don't want to waste my time with it, maybe it's about, I don't know, making my head hurt with keeping track with the other continuities, even though canon continuity is pretty simple compared to Legends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess it's that. I would just rather read, I don't want to read the canon Darth Vader. I want to read my Darth Vader from the Legends Darth Vader comics,
Sure. I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, to me it's a choice. You could read Star Wars Legends or you could read Star Wars canon. I'm sure there's people who read both, but I have not met that person. Oh, well, maybe I have. But yeah.
Sure. I guess to just expound on that, so the reason I prefer Legends is obviously just, it's just my familiarity with it. Just plain and simple. Obviously I didn't really care for the sequels. I thought Force Awakens was perfectly inoffensive, and then obviously, from there, I don't think the movies, it's not that, I didn't enjoy them. It's nothing with, who wrote them, what they did. It's just, movie, they're just movies, and they're just there, and, I'm just not a fan of them. It's like asking me to,
but you do like Solo.
Oh, yeah, I do love Solo. I will say I do really like Solo.
And you've actually read the Han Solo Legends novels, so you have, a comparison, but you still like Solo, even though, to me, I don't know too much about Han Solo's backstory, but I know for a fact that, his name wasn't just given to him offhand by a Imperial security guard. Solo.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, that's, I think that's just in general. I think that would be just a goofy thing. It's just in the movie. Those novels are there. I like those novels. They're really fun. The second Han Solo trilogy they did, I think, is a bit better than the first one in Legends. But that's not going to change the fact that I still just enjoy Solo for what it is. Like, just as, like, the movie, as, like, a movie about Han Solo, I think it's really fun. And I don't think it has to, like, you know, connect with anything. Like, it's with the movies, and it's kind of like its own thing. I guess it's basically, since it isn't canon, obviously it's in its own universe. Like, I can enjoy it separately from the stuff I can enjoy. It would basically be, like, a kind of... So, I guess for a good example, it's like... you've recently picked up Ultimate Spider-Man, yeah?
Yeah.
And, so basically it was the same thing for me. When I picked up Ultimate Spider-Man and read it, you know, I had known it existed and I had some issues when I was a kid, but, like, when I was, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, I picked up Ultimate Spider-Man and actually read it through all the way, and I thought it was really awesome. Like, it's a really, really good story. I really liked it all the way from start to finish. But that didn't make me enjoy the Marvel 616 universe, like the main Marvel universe Spider-Man stories, any less. So I guess it's kind of just the same thing with, like, the Solo movie. And
you don't feel like it detracts from Han Solo?
No, I think it's just
Han Solo from the original trilogy.
No, I think it works really well. I think the character, like, lines up and everything. And yeah, like, there are a couple, like, things, you know, in that movie that I don't think, you know, are great. But overall, it's a movie I can enjoy. And that's kind of just the reason, like, with, like, the sequel era, like, it's just, I'm not interested in it. Because, like, because, like, reading the prequel comics going up to it, I know where it's going to lead. And it's just, you know, yeah, Poe Dameron might be cool, but since I know where he's going to end up, and his character is going to basically be a non-issue in any of the movies, you know, it's just something where I don't care to get invested with his character, since I know, you know, in the movies he's basically going to blow up a ship, get chastised, and then do basically nothing for episode 9. So, you know, why would I want to get, you know, involved with that character? And that's basically my reasoning for, like, the sequel time period. Like, I'm just not interested.
So
in
you
it.
do like Solo, but I don't think you like Rogue One, right?
No, Rogue One is just a boring movie.
So another
boring characters. If a movie's good, I'll like it.
I can watch it and, like, enjoy it while, you know, acknowledging that the characters are paper thin and don't really work that well. But I can just watch it as, like, you know, dumb Star Wars action movie. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like, that's definitely a, you know, I think that's an easy, pretty instance to point to of canon versus Legends. You know.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I think Legends maybe had a few different explanations on how the Death Star plans, or was it just the one from was it Dark Forces?
No, see, that is one of the things that I will agree with people is the way the Rebels got the Death Star plans was it's a bit of a convoluted thing that they had to retcon that it was all actually one big operation versus, you know, in the Dark Forces game, Kyle Katarn gets it, and I think there's another story of how it gets done, and then a story from the Star Wars RPG game, like back in the 80s or whatever, that explained how it got done.
Right.
But, you know, then they had to retcon it where, it was all one big, you know, effort. But yeah, so, like, Rogue One versus those, you know, really the only thing I've ever experienced is Dark Forces.
Yeah.
And then Rogue One, so obviously I'm going to prefer the Legends one, because Rogue One was just a boring movie.
Yeah.
And even then, you know, with basically just the way headcanon and, you know, movies and everything work, you can just, you know, choose to ignore that Rogue One ever happened, even if just the movies existed in a vacuum, you could ignore Rogue One and the story doesn't change.
Yeah, I mean, even though Rogue One does everything it can to tie itself to the original trilogy, yeah, you could just ignore it, yeah. Because all of Rogue One just gets summarized in the first few lines of Star Wars.
Yeah, and...
or the title crawl, I mean.
Yep, and so with that, like, I think that's a good, like you said, a good comparison between the two in, like, how you could prefer one or the other. And I know, my God, I know so many people that love Rogue One. And so, like, if they had watched that movie and then also, you know, played Dark Forces, the RPG guides, whatever, if they preferred Rogue One, I would totally get it because, you know, it's basically just at the end of the day comes down to preference. Which kind of, I guess from there I can jump into why I'm not interested in any of the other canon stuff, like High Republic, any stuff like that. It's just simply like, it's not doing anything, in my opinion, that, like, I'm super interested in. The only era in Star Wars canon that I would be interested in reading would be, like, the High Republic stuff. And if I found out that, oh, the comics are really good or the novel's really good, like, yeah, I've seen, like, you know, people I know, like, isolated, you know, very small sample size, have said, yeah, like, the Light of the Jedi novel, it's okay. But, you know, just okay isn't gonna get me, like, you know, I'm not gonna go out and drop, you know, $7 on a novel for it to be just okay. That's like, you know, oh, you can go to McDonald's.
Yeah, just buying it because it has brand name.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not, like, yeah, I have, like, a big history with Star Wars as, like, a franchise, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna go drop money on it just because it, you know, it has the name. Like, it's like, prime example of this, you know, Star Wars Squadrons. Didn't buy it. Didn't even think about buying it. Didn't care about it. I don't like flight simulator games. So, you know, it's just not something I would buy. But then...
Canon really likes to milk the original trilogy era, doesn't it?
And, yeah, I think that's, like, a big thing, is, like, the original, like, the Galactic Civil War era was never, like, my favorite era. It was always post-Return of the Jedi, which immediately is going to turn me off from, you know, canon, because post-Return of the Jedi, there's Return of the Jedi, well, there's Mandalorian, which is awesome. Everybody likes Mandalorian. Like, it's, like, the one, like, universal thing that can, like, you know, tie together, like, Legends fan and Canon's fan. Like, everybody likes Mandalorian. Like, it's just an awesome show.
Yeah.
So,
but I was going to ask, okay, so we're talking about us preferring Legends over Canon, and basically neither one of us will touch Canon with a 10-foot pole unless it's the Mandalorian. Let's talk about people who like pretty much exclusively read Canon and don't read Legends.
Well,
now.
I guess just really quick interjection. I would, you know, explore Canon if there was something that, like, everyone said was, like, great. Like, if everyone said, like, the Light of the Jedi novel, like, oh, this is the best thing I've read in 5 years, you know, the writing is, like, really, really top tier, you know, then I would check it out, because, like, oh, you know, if it's, like...
Word of mouth recommendation.
Yeah, word of mouth recommendation, versus, like, and, you know, obviously, you know, you can say, oh, well, it's a, you know, best-selling novel. That doesn't matter. Like, I'm pretty sure I could publish a novel and find a way to say it's a best-selling novel. But no, I would get into, like, Canon. Like, if there was something that I was genuinely recommended by, like, you know, a source I trust, basically being, like, word of mouth, like, someone I know, you know, I would read it. But, you know, like I said, it's, like, to me, it's like, kind of like, you know, oh, I could go drop, you know, $10 on McDonald's for supper, and it's going to be just okay. You know, nothing from McDonald's is going to be, like, amazing. Versus
it'll taste not like crap, and it'll fill you up.
Yeah, it'll be a hot meal usually. But yeah, versus I could make a hamburger at home on my grill with everything I want on it. Like, it's kind of just the same thing. But, like, if someone said, "Oh, like, they just released this new sandwich and it's like the best thing they've ever done," I'd be like, okay, well, you know, you kind of have to, you know, see it for yourself.
Try the sandwich. Yeah.
And that is, just before we, like, move on to the other thing, I would
but that's a good point, though. That's a good point you make, because I haven't gotten any recommendations like that. Like, there hasn't been anything I've seen just get, like, you know, big word of mouth approval, you know, from people and everyone, like, recommending it and stuff.
Yeah, besides, like, The Mandalorian.
Besides The Mandalorian, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then with that is, my big thing that I've tried to stop doing, because I used to do it all the time, is, you know, I used to be one of those people that was, like, in on, like, the hate train. Like, oh my god, Canon sucks, Canon's blah blah blah. But I've kind of, like, I've way, like, completely done, like, a 180, not like a 180, but I've just went from, like, I hate this because it is, and now it's like, I won't give my opinion on any of it besides stuff I've read because I don't have any experience with it. So yeah, now just I guess with that, unless you have anything to add to that, like, I would say, yeah, now we can move on to the next one. I just had to get
I was just gonna say, yeah, because me, I get a little, like, because I think I've seen people online who, like, mainly read Canon and don't read Legends. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, oh no, if only they would try Legends. But then part of me's like, wait a minute, but you won't even try Canon. I'm like, yeah,
exactly.
That's true. Like I can't get mad at someone who prefers canon over Legends, but I would very much like them to get into Legends. But
Yeah,
I can understand why people would prefer canon just because it's a way smaller timeline, and I would bet most people who are into canon probably really like Clone Wars and Rebels because those tie in pretty well to canon. Like they fit perfectly into canon because that's what it was made to do that.
yep. Well, and then probably like like the like sequel era stuff, considering it's its own era.
Oh, and the sequels, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Clone Wars and Rebels ties into Mandalorian, so it's all wrapped up in a nice little neat package.
Yep.
Whereas Legends is like it's like an explosion of just different timelines and eras and stuff. Like with canon, I believe the earliest the timeline goes is like Episode 1. There's like a few stories about like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. There's like some Padme, Queen Amidala stuff. And then it's basically just right into the Clone Wars TV show. You get, and then after Clone Wars TV show, it's like the Darth Vader comics, and Dr. Aphra, and then Rebels.
Yep. And then from Rebels, the OT, Episode 4, and then from Episode 4, you basically have like concurrent Darth Vader, and then just like the main line, like just Star Wars comic that follows like Han, Luke, Leia, Chewie, and
right.
like the main cast, and then I think Dr. Aphra's like sprinkled in there.
Maybe the fact that it's just stuck so closely to like the original trilogy era, and yeah, it's definitely not my favorite era either. Just in terms of like books and comics,
Mm-hmm.
Obviously my favorite movies are going to be the original trilogy, but in terms of books and comics, it's not my favorite era. So maybe that's part of the reason why I haven't needed any reason to get into canon, because I like the original trilogy, and there's some cool books in there. I don't feel the need to read the canon version of it because it just seems like it's just kind of
Redundant.
Yeah, redundant. Thank you.
Yeah, and yeah, I could definitely see that as well. Like someone who like and again, it's like a pretty apt comparison would be like the Ultimate Comics. Like when Marvel released those, it's like, oh, now I can finally get into Spider-Man, the X-Men, the Avengers, whatever, because now there isn't like these decades of continuity that I need to worry about. And like, oh, like, what if I'm reading the Spider-Man comic and this character who I had never met, have no context for, shows up? And then it would kind of be like the same thing. Like I could definitely see it with like people looking at Legends, being like, there's, if you look at just novels, there's 130 some just adult novels. That's a ton of reading. Like I've been reading Legends of the Expanded Universe for like nearly 20 years, and even I haven't read everything.
Yeah.
And so from going from that, to like canon, like, oh, like there's these comic books, there's the Clone Wars, like you said, and stuff, and then a lot of that ties into like the Mandalorian a little bit. So it's really nice, and like you said, it's kind of like a lot nicer, a bit more neat and stuff. Versus Legends, and granted, I think a bit of this has been like overly perpetrated by like people online who say, it's a mess. There's all these continuity errors and stuff. When yeah, there have been some, nothing like overly major. I think the biggest thing I would say would probably be that like Boba Fett before Episode 2 obviously was not a clone, and his real name was Jaster Muriel, and blah blah blah. And so
which later gets retconned.
Yeah, so I mean, like,
But really, no one's going to be reading that era of Star Wars anyway. What is that, like the 80s? It's like the 80s comics?
Yeah, it's the 80s comics, and people kind of take those, and,
We don't even read those, because we know they're like the freaking 80s comics. There's going to be some discrepancies there.
Yeah, and that was before they really, had any kind of big continuity going on. Really, that didn't start until basically the Thrawn trilogy came out, and then, obviously moving forward, and then there would be like little ones here and there, like I had mentioned earlier with like the Death Star plans, hijacking and stuff, and then I think there were like little discrepancies with the Return of the Jedi novel, with like Obi-Wan and stuff, and then just like little stuff here and there that like was not a huge deal. And then so I guess that would be kind of the thing. And I would even no, I'll save that thought for later. But yeah, like, comparing the two, I would definitely say, like, you know, canon might look like it's easier to get into. And if you want to read it, like, if you like the sequels and you want to read the Poe Dameron comics, awesome, go for it, do it. Like, I don't care. If you want to read it, awesome. If you've got $10 to drop on the comics, thumbs up, go for it. It's just, you know, and I guess this could kind of be for anyone, like, prospectively, like, looking to get into, like, the expanding universe. Like, we kind of talked about this before we started recording. Like, just the easiest way to do it is, like, pick an era you like. So if you like the Clone Wars, you know, start from basically, like, you know, the comic where, like, the Clone Wars is first brought up. Or you could read any of, like, the novels that, like, have to deal with the Clone Wars that take place after Episode 2. Like, there's that. And then you can, like, branch off from there. To read the expanded universe, you don't have to sit down and read from Dawn of the Jedi to Legacy. Like, you don't have to read everything. I haven't read anything. Like, there's books in there that, like, I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to read it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely with Legends, it's kind of just like, you know, pick an era and, like, a character you like and start from there. You'll probably be fine.
Yeah,
you won't get it. You won't get every reference, but eventually you will.
Yeah,
and I definitely think it was written in a way that, you know, you didn't need to have read everything in order to get this, right? Like, I didn't need to have played KOTOR in order to get the Darth Bane books.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it works really well. And even then, like, if you're not into reading, like, there's video games, there's comics, there's radio dramas, there's tons of stuff.
Yeah.
That you can do. And I guess, yeah, so that I think is kind of like the biggest differences, like the easy way to get into Legends, obviously, and then, you know, canon.
This is the opposite of gatekeeping. This is gate opening.
Yeah, literally.
Please check out Legends.
Yeah, and I think that would be like a good point to, like, segue into just kind of like the topic of gatekeeping. And, like, this word got overused a couple years back, but, like, toxic fans, I guess I would definitely say. I see a lot more of them online, not specifically from any one side or anything. Like, they exist, and to kind of say they don't, I guess, is kind of just pointless when, you know, it's very obvious that they do. And
yeah, we all know this, but I definitely don't like conflating all fans as, you know, toxic. Like, everybody who prefers Legends is toxic, or everyone who prefers the original trilogy is, like, a toxic fan.
Yeah, and I think that's really where it started getting thrown around. Like it was what, like 2018, 2019-ish?
It was The Last Jedi.
So when did that come out?
2017.
Okay, so yeah, like,
but it was Christmas 2017, so
yeah, so like 2018, 2019, like, that term started really getting, like, thrown against the wall. And it's like, you know, if you like this, then, you know, you're toxic, you hate, you know, everything, you're just a hateful person, blah blah blah. And yeah, it was, like, you know, rather, like, annoying. But, like, I don't know, I guess when you get into, like, even people who dislike, like, the sequels, like, just in general, like, I would say, like, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. If you hate the sequels because there's, like, female main characters or people of color main characters, it's like, yeah, dude, just shut the fuck up. No one cares what you have to say.
I mean, yeah, obviously, but
yeah, but then,
I guess,
like,
the problem is, like people not, like, I didn't like The Last Jedi not because I don't know, the female characters or, you know, black people or Asian people or whatever. Like, no, I didn't like The Last Jedi because Rose Tico's character sucked. Finn's character in that movie sucked. Rey just kept sucking even more. The characters, the writing, that's the important thing. Yeah, and it's again, like, at the end of the day, though, it's just, like, a very, like, subjective thing. Like, yeah, I think that I didn't like the movies. I didn't think they were, you know, they fit or anything, like, with Star Wars. And obviously, like, because it's subjective, and I will acknowledge it's subjective, I'm not, like, the final authority on movies. I'm the fucking Galactus of movies. You know, yeah, like, you can have, like, a discussion with someone, and you can both, like, come away with, you know, potentially new points. Like, you know, if you think, you know, you say, oh, I hate Rey, and then another person says they don't, it's like both those opinions are valid. And like I said, like, there's right and wrong ways to, like, criticize a movie, a piece of media, etc. Yeah, and people have every right to like the movies and stuff like that, but also I have every right to call them pieces of crap.
Yeah, like, if you want to criticize a movie, like, you're well within your rights to do so. And so obviously, when I refer to like, you know, toxic fans, I'm talking about people who are like, if you like the sequels, you're not a real fan. If you like, if you like, you know, Knights of the Old Republic or Legends, you're not a real fan because blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, shut up. No one cares what you have to say. Like it's, you know, it's 2021. You know, you can like whatever you want.
Do you think like let's say somebody gets into Star Wars through like the Clone Wars TV show, you know, and they're like, oh, and then like they move on to Rebels, and maybe they want to get into like the other stuff, like the comics and books and stuff like that. Do you think that person has like a different idea of what Star Wars is than we do? Do you think those ideas are pretty similar? Like, what would the differences be, you know, in those versions of Star Wars?
I wouldn't say like a whole lot. It's like, yeah, I don't like the Clone Wars, but like the central message of Clone Wars and everything, like it's still there with Star Wars. I think that like the storytelling in it isn't like particularly good, and sometimes like the voice acting isn't particularly good, and you know, that's all just subjective stuff. But it's not like they're going to come away with it like, you know, with some kind of like weird like Star Wars thing. Or
yeah, I guess it mostly just
Star Wars.
It mostly just slightly changes characters and events, but doesn't it? Like, I guess like Legends, it doesn't affect the movies, right? And the movies are still the ultimate canon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Yeah.
And I guess just the thing is like, even if you like the sequels and you like the, you know, writing and everything of them, like I don't think it like changes it. It like really changes your enjoyment of like anything. And obviously, you know, especially with the sequels, I'm me personally, I'm just sick of like the sequel hate wank. Like some people like still like, you know, 3-4 years on, still just like rave about it like online. It's like, yeah, it's whatever. It happened. It exists. I'm over it. Like I'm off that train.
Right.
And you know,
Rise of Skywalker, it just kind of crashed into the dirt. It's like, let's just let it be dead.
Yeah, it's like, and basically that's what it was. Like after the Rise of Skywalker came out, I was just like, what is the point of me posting how much I dislike these movies? Like, it's not. If people still like those movies, like, I'm not going to change their mind. Like, yeah, it's like at the end of the day, it's down to personal preference. And I was tired of being like, you know, kind of like a toxic asshole and being like, if you like these, you know, you suck, blah blah blah. These things suck. And that's when I started to get off of like the whole like gatekeeping thing, and I guess to get like into that, like gatekeeping is like pointless, and it's only making your side look way worse. Like when people started coming out and were saying, you know, oh, the sequels suck and the prequels are better, then you just make all prequel. And I'm not a prequels fan. Like I don't like the prequels that much, but I'm just using this as an example. But like, when people who were huge prequel fans came out and saw the sequels and like started raving about it online, like, oh, these movies suck. If you like these, you don't like Star Wars, the prequels are better. You just make everyone collectively on your side look like an asshole. Because then, you know, it's...
But how are you going to stop someone from enjoying something or going to do something like with a post? Like, you're not.
Exactly, and it's pointless. Like, you know, I think it's totally, and by no means am I saying that you aren't free to like, you know, post on like, you know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, whatever, other forums, you know, I don't like the prequels, here's why. Yeah, do that. But don't expect you to like I said, like you're not like the final authority on what people enjoy.
Yeah, we may prefer Legends to canon, but we're not elitists here. Well, maybe a little bit.
It just at the end of the day, like it just comes down to like you can like whatever you want, but just like there's no point in being a dick, because like I think that's a big reason why some people, I would say, don't want to get into Legends, because like when the sequels were coming out, there were like online at the time, I don't know if you remember, I remember because it was like my senior year, so it kind of just gets lumped in with a lot of that stuff. I think the Legends was decanonized in like 2014, like April of 2014, like around this time, like 7 years ago. And online, people were just like, oh my god, this is the worst thing ever, blah blah blah, and we're just going to be like very aggressive about it before anything's even come out. And then those people online kind of just from there the sequel started coming out, and they're like, oh, Legends is better. If you like this, you're not a Star Wars fan. And I think that, like, probably around, like, the same time as, like, The Last Jedi came out, is, like, when I would say, like, a lot of this negative connotation started with people disliking Legends fans, because and I'm not saying all, obviously, I'm a Legends fan, and obviously I should have fucking shown that I don't care, like, what people watch, but just a lot of, like, really loud people put this negative connotation of Legends fans kind of in the public's head, where we're assholes and we're just going to review bomb movies that come out, and we're going to boycott Solo even though it has nothing to do with
maybe it's
The
just
Last
because
Jedi.
usually probably I would say more often than not, the person that doesn't like the sequels is either a fan of the original trilogy or Legends, and so out of that subset you're going to get assholes.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess it's when you have something as different as Legends, where it's a completely different timeline, that people are going to really start to form, like, those negative connotations. Like, and even now...
Did you ever see that video? There was a video where, like, they were talking, like, there were some friends just kind of filming each other on their cell phone or whatever, and they're talking about the new Star Wars. And he was like, hey, man, are you excited for the new Star Wars or whatever? And he's like, oh, my God, this new Star Wars, Episode 7? Oh, my God, I can't wait to see Mara Jade. And he's just got this happy look on his face. And then one of his friends is like, no, they're not doing Mara Jade. And he's like, what? Like, yeah, no, they're doing a whole new thing. And it's just the look on his face. He's just crestfallen.
Mm-hmm.
The tragedy of the Legends fan.
Yeah. And I guess that would be, like, a big thing as to why Legends fans especially should not be, like, nobody should, but Legends fans especially should not be gatekeeping. Because we have it's already, like, Legends is already, like, a fairly niche thing. Like, even when, like, the Star Wars movies were coming out, like, yeah, like, the books sold well, and the comics sold well, and the games sold really well. But at the end of the day...
I definitely wouldn't call it niche then. It's maybe about as niche as any other nerd thing. Well,
I would say it would definitely be more niche than, like, you know, Marvel or DC Comics.
Oh yeah, probably. And it's Star Wars.
Yeah, but then, like I was about to say, like it's niche when you consider how many people watched the movies versus how many people are buying the books. Like, just that big disparity, like, it is a bit of a niche thing. And yeah, like, you're gonna have things that, like, you know, tons of people know about. Like, everybody knows about Force Awakens, everybody knows about Knights of the Old Republic, a lot of people know about The Force Awakens, Jedi Academy. I don't know how I got those two mixed up. I've had one beer and now I can't remember anything. No, but, you know, you're going to have, like, more well-known things, but I would say overall the novels and comics are fairly niche, just because in general video games are always going to be kind of aimed at, like, a bigger market. Because, like, you could ask, like, a bunch of people, you know, about our age or, like, a little bit older, you know, did you play Battlefront 2 when it came out in, you know, 2000, whatever year, I can't remember. You know, if you ask someone like our age, did you play Battlefront 2? A huge chunk of them are going to be like, oh yeah, like I played that. But then you ask that same group of people, have you read Labyrinth of Evil? And you're going to get like blank stares. So so my point is, as a niche thing, like Legends, novels, books, comics, and stuff, lesser so the video games, I would say, just because those are always going to have a bigger appeal.
I mean, you do bring up a good point though, because definitely the Legends, the expanded universe was niche, and it was written like for Star Wars fans, for people that loved Star Wars and stuff. Canon, I would say, is definitely trying to get the younger crowd, the newer crowd. Not really, you know, they're not really aiming towards the normies, right? Not the Star Wars fans.
I'm not really sure about that, because, like, how many people are going to want to read, like, the adventures of, like, you know, like Luke Skywalker and Leia, like, between the movies? Like, it's going to be a similar sized audience, I would say, as to when, like, the Republic comics were coming out, and like that kind of stuff. Like, I would say it's like a similar sized audience. I wouldn't, like, I think just in general, it seems like they're appealing more to a larger audience, just because the movies, like, are still fairly recent.
Yeah, and maybe it's also like the times, like when the expanded universe was happening, it was like the 90s and the early 2000s. Internet was very young. Now like High Republic comes out, there's like YouTube videos on it. They got a new video on it like every other day, Really pushing hard. Legends, I'm pretty sure they just published it and people bought it. I don't think there was commercials for the Republic, comics.
Yeah, and yeah, I think with the advent of like the internet and how common it's become in our lives, like it's just like a bigger thing, and you're just gonna see it more. Because yeah, and obviously just because of the age I was when like the expanded universe was coming out, I only knew about the stuff coming out because I was reading it.
Yeah.
Versus now, the main Star Wars like YouTube page, like I think they post once a week on like what's going on in Star Wars. Obviously, what's going on in Star Wars right now? Well, the High Republic stuff.
Entirely the High Republic.
And then I think some other stuff is going on. Like I said, I don't know. I don't subscribe to the channel because it's again just not something I'm interested in. But to get to my point, like as a niche interest that is at the moment not getting any new material, what is the point of turning away people just because, they, in your mind, aren't real fans because they don't know who, I don't know, Darth Zana is. Like, what is the point of doing that?
Right. I mean, really, I guess the point is just for them to kind of feel a little superior, over a nerdy, like a nerdy little franchise.
Yeah, and I definitely think that could be it, but like, yeah, I think that would definitely be it. It's just like it's a way for some people to like,
because they're not actually going to do anything. Like they're not actually going to stop someone from reading something.
Yeah, but as like a new reader,
you're probably on the money there. Them being like that will probably, avert people away from Legends. Yeah. Yeah,
because if you're you're asking people, oh, where should I start reading this franchise? And you have someone coming at you saying, oh, you're not a big enough fan. You don't even know who this is, blah, blah, blah. You're going to get discouraged. Like, it's just, you're getting like turned away by this person.
Yeah, but I mean, definitely I would say those people are few and far between.
I would say they're a bit more common, and it's just because I spend just like, in my free time, I spend way too much time going on like websites and trying to find people to have like, these, fun discussions with, as well as just like advertising the podcast and stuff. But I see lots of people who are like, you're not a real fan if you like the sequels. If you like this, you're not a real fan. Like I see it on a nearly daily basis. And if you do even just like a cursory like Google search, like it's going to be easy enough to find of like people trying to do like this gatekeeping and stuff. So I think it's definitely not a super duper prevalent issue, but I would say it's common enough to where it's gonna start just like turning people away and keep giving Legends fans, a really crappy name of like these people who are just gatekeeping and turning people away.
Right. It's probably not like Legends fans, quote unquote, that they see it as like, I'm pretty sure OT fans and Legends fans probably just get lumped together. But they usually are, not every OT fan is a Legends fan, but I guess every Legends fan is an OT fan.
Yeah, I would say that, yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's probably pretty spot on.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, everybody should be an OT fan because they're the best Star Wars movies.
True. I couldn't imagine preferring Force Awakens over A New Hope, but I'm sure there are people out there who do. That's fine.
Yep, exactly, and that's just, I think, should be just everyone's opinion. Like, if you like something, cool, whatever, go do it. Like, I love baseball. There are tons of people who don't like baseball. I don't care, and their opinion is not going to stop me from watching baseball. Yeah. Just like I don't like soccer. My opinion on soccer should not like stop someone from wanting to go to a soccer game.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a few people out there in the world like that, but I haven't seen like soccer people just like hating on football. Like that's not real soccer or something like that, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it's really easy to come up with like all these things because, and again, like you would never try and stop someone from watching soccer. So why try and stop them from, or like tell them not to read something else. Like, it's just pointless, and you're just an asshole.
Yeah, instead of sending them away from Star Wars or giving fans a bad name, do the opposite. Recommend Legends to them, right? Don't gatekeep, gate open.
Yeah, and even then, like, and I think this is probably like a thing that's popped up too, is like, it's probably like come up where like someone has tried to recommend Legends to someone, the person says no, and then they have a little like frickin' spaz attack about it, like, and they re-out for a minute. So, and that's the thing. Like, you can't like recommend someone something and then expect them to say yes.
Yeah, again, I can't get mad at people for preferring Canon over Legends and not even touching Legends, because I'm like the same way but opposite.
Yeah, exactly. And like when you have like this like equals and opposite stuff, like at the end of the day, like the whole big point of this last half of this video is it's pointless, and you're only making people look bad. Like just if you don't like the sequels, you don't have to post about it daily. If you don't like Legends and and I guess this would be a big thing too, is and it kind of goes hand in hand with gatekeeping. Don't like criticize something if you've never read it. And I think this I would say goes more so for Legends than it does Canon, but I could be wrong. Is that you'll see so many people online who are like, Legends it was a mess, it was just full of contradictions, and then you ask what they've read, and they'll either say, oh, I haven't, I've read I've read the Thrawn trilogy, or it'll be something, oh, I read such and such random obscure novel and I didn't like it, or something like that. Like I
definitely can't justify Canon fans just like decrying Legends continuity and not even knowing what they're talking about. Like that's not good.
Yeah, like you can say you're not interested and you don't want to read it, like that's fine. But if you're gonna try and like criticize this in this entire timeline and you haven't read any of it, then you're just making yourself look like an idiot, because someone on YouTube told you that Star Wars, that the expanded universe is full of legends and contradictions and it wasn't good.
Someone made a clickbait YouTube video. Legends is wacky. There's a Jedi droid and other stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll see like bigger creators that are just gonna like pull kind of just like cherry pick like examples, like, oh, there's Skippy the Jedi droid, but then you look into it, oh, Skippy the Jedi droid was never actually like a thing in Legends. It was a non-canon Legends comic, like it had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
Or they'll say, oh, I think Palpatine coming back was dumb. It's like, okay, yeah, that's fine, but that doesn't mean that the whole series is bad. And just stuff like that. It's just kind of a weird, like, and I'm sure it goes both ways, where there's this weird, like, mutual hatred, circle jerk kind of thing between select fans that are like, well, this timeline has this, and oh no, but this timeline has this. So
I kind of just get annoyed at people who follow the Legends timeline like to the T, like the way it's explained with all the levels and stuff. Like I hate people that do that, because I don't do that. I just I know what stuff connects to the other stuff, and I know what stuff you can just toss out and not care about.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no real Legends fan uses the freaking the continuity levels. It's stupid.
Yeah, and I think even the continuity levels, like trying to like pull them out in like an argument, like that's just another great way to make yourself look like a gatekeeping asshole. Like, oh, well, actually, this comic isn't on the same level of continuity canon as this comic, so therefore you're wrong. It's like, no, it's like it doesn't matter. Like a story's a story, and if it's good or bad is up to the reader.
Yeah.
And
we maybe got on a bit of a tangent here with the gatekeeping. I kind of wanted to continue with our, I guess, discussing Legends versus Canon.
Yeah, sure.
So I guess the last thing I was thinking of was like how kind of interesting how when The Rise of Skywalker came out, at least to me, it felt like the death of Star Wars.
No,
like they were calling it the end of an era and stuff like that. But I was like, ugh. But then that same month, The Mandalorian comes out and like just sort of just resets the wheel spinning.
Yeah, I guess I never thought of the Rise of Skywalker as like the end of anything or the death of anything. But yeah, just because obviously there's still going to be, tons of stuff to read and watch and play in regards to video games and stuff. So, but yeah, no, The Mandalorian definitely did do a good job of like, I guess making me want to watch something from Star Wars again, because basically my idea was like I'm gonna be pretty picky and choosy with what I actually decide to watch, and then The Mandalorian comes out and it's like, oh, cool, this is awesome.
Awesome, just by dint of not being just bad or awful.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not great writing, I would say it's passable, but it does its job. Yeah, so Mandalorian takes place, what is
10
years?
9.
After 9 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so kind of different stuff going on. Yeah, I don't know. I guess The Mandalorian is another example of how canon limits the universe in a way. Because basically in The Mandalorian, they're pretty much in the Outer Rim the whole time, and there's stuff going on with the New Republic. And that's it.
Well, I think it's just because the stuff with the New Republic isn't what they're trying to explore. They're trying to explore this smaller kind of story that it's out in the Outer Rim and stuff, but
no, yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely say that Canon and Legends, they're different, and that's fine. It's to me, it's kind of akin to Marvel Comics and DC Comics. There's thousands and thousands of people who prefer Marvel. There's thousands and thousands of people that prefer DC. And then, there are a lot of people as well who just read both. And, I don't ever hear any, I'm sure there are people who, say, if you like this, then, you're an idiot or whatever. And to me, it's just kind of the same thing. It's just two different universes. And it's you're going to like one or the other.
Right.
And I guess at the end of the day, that's just kind of it. It would be awesome to get more Legends content, more expanded universe content, and I don't even care if it's a movie, because it doesn't matter. If they just released more novels and more comics, that would be cool.
You think they would ever do that though? I mean, they did didn't they do? There was a Darth Vader comic that was a continuation.
They
of the
did.
80s Marvel.
It was Star Wars 108, and it was a continuation of a random Marvel story from whenever. But I think and I guess just here's my little PSA. If you're a Legends fan, just buy Legends stuff. Not just because it's Legends, but if you're interested in it, just go buy it. If you've ever thought about reading the Old Republic novels or the Darth Bane novels, they're still being printed. They're still being printed brand new. You can still buy a new copy of it. Just go buy it. There's
a really cheap used copy or online.
Well, and I guess my thing would be buy the new copy, because then it's showing that there's a market for this universe.
That's true.
I think just recently they announced in the next Star Wars Black Series action figure lineup, they're doing Luke Skywalker from when he was on Merkur in the Thrawn trilogy, and Kir Kanos from the Crimson Empire comics. If you're interested in Legends, if you're interested in those characters, it's kind of a dumb way that you have to work with the system to get it. But pick those things up. If you're interested in those characters, pick those things up. If you want a cool Luke Skywalker action figure and you like Legends, go buy that. If you like Crimson Empire, which I'm surprised even that's getting a action figure, that's a really, really kind of a deep cut, go pick that up, because then you're showing people, people who matter, people who are making these decisions and stuff, that there is a market for it. And that was a really big push when Star Wars 108 came out a few years ago, was to go out and buy it and show your support for Legends in the expanded universe. And luckily
Disney is smart enough to keep reprinting and selling Legends content.
Yeah, and even just the fact that
they could just not sell it anymore, right?
Yeah,
they could have just stopped selling that stuff.
They could have just stopped selling it and said, that's the end of it. But obviously, there's still a market for it. And as long as there's a market for it, they're going to at least keep, pumping those out. But, if we can get, the expanded universe Legends, if there was a market for, more Legends books, which, there is, in my opinion, then they would print those. They would have people write those. And I think it's going to happen one day. I really do think so. It's just right now I think it's just they're really focusing on obviously expanding the universe that they've kind of created, that the new Lucasfilm canon. I would say in less than a decade, I would definitely say we're going to start getting new Legends content. That's just my prediction. But yeah, if people keep buying them, then yeah, there's going to be a market for it. If people,
I forgot to mention there was a canon thing that I do like, but it's kind of a weird place because it's the comic book adaptation of the canon Thrawn novel.
Mm-hmm. I remember,
which is basically Thrawn's origin story and kind of a prequel to Star Wars Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed it a lot. Besides stuff I think that connected to Clone Wars or Rebels, it was actually no, I think most of the references were just prequel references, not necessarily Clone Wars. So it felt like it could have been Legends, because it's written by Timothy Zahn.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I did like a lot. Just because I like Thrawn a lot, and I felt like it didn't do a disservice to his character in there.
Sure.
Of course, because it's written by the guy who made him.
Yeah, and and that's just kind of a thing. Well, I guess just on a side tangent, I wish they would stop bringing Legends characters back into canon, because you paid $4 bajillion for this, franchise. Just use your own characters. I guess it seems a little to me why do you need a canon Thrawn trilogy? Why did you have to bring Thrawn in? Why are you...
Why did you make Legends not continuity, and then you're like, we're just gonna readapt all the stuff that was in there anyway?
Yeah, to me that's just a little, it's whatever that they're doing it, and if you like the stories, cool. It's just,
and then you have the head of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, coming out and saying we don't have 800-page novels, we don't have, lore and blah blah. Really?
Well, I think that's more referring to making the sequel trilogy. I think in my opinion, and from reading up on that interview, that quote gets taken out of context a little bit.
I believe she was comparing Star Wars to Harry Potter or something, but. Mm-hmm. Really, okay. Even if she's talking about the sequels, we have the Thrawn trilogy from Legends.
But that story wouldn't work in the time frame that they've set up.
But she's saying they had no basis for the sequels, but the Thrawn trilogy was the sequels for Legends.
But the Thrawn trilogy was made Legends, so you can't really I guess rectify the two.
I'm saying. Okay, she said they don't have novels to draw on, but they have tons of novels to draw on, which they do draw on. They took Thrawn, they took other characters from Legends, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but
it kind of doesn't match up there.
Well, that's just kind of going that's more towards the sequel trilogy as opposed to Star Wars as a whole.
Nah, but come on, man. It was Legends.
Yeah, I know.
All this stuff.
I know Thrawn was Legends and that Legends existed, but I was never expecting them to adapt anything to Legends or from Legends to the new stuff, and I wouldn't really want them to.
But she's saying it's hard to come up with new stories or whatever because we don't have any, or stories because we don't have any, source material to draw on. Well, yeah, you do have source material to draw on, and you do draw on it quite regularly.
Well, in the universe that they've made, they don't have novels. Well, they do have a few novels, but the whole point is that I think
you're misunderstanding me, but it's fine.
Yeah, well, I just think that quote gets taken fairly out of context. I guess is my thoughts on it.
Hey, Shield of Kathleen Kennedy, everyone.
Well, I mean, I don't like the sequels, but I don't think she's directly responsible for everything bad that's happened.
Are you kidding?
You know, it's not like she came to like my house and kicked my dog. Like, I would prefer that, like, you know, I guess the sequels went a different way, but like it's not like she didn't write them.
Right, but I don't know. I feel like now I guess we're getting off topic here, but so the state of Star Wars in 2021.
Yeah,
what would you say is the state of Star Wars?
I would say contrary.
After 1 hour.
I would say contrary popular to what a lot of people online would say. It's not dying. It's not going anywhere. Like, I know that, you know, people are mad about the sequels, and that's totally fine. If you want to spend your life being mad about 9 hours worth of movies, you know, go ahead and, you know, waste your time being angry. But, you know,
to be fair, you used to be one of those people.
I did, but then I guess I kind of grew past it, and
I'm still kind of one of those people.
yeah, I've just gotten past the point of like caring. Like I said, like it's just, to me, it's just DC versus Marvel. I like Marvel comics, don't like DC comics. I like Legends, don't like canon. If something came out that was like amazing, I'd read it. But just at the end of the day, like, Star Wars isn't dying. Star Wars isn't going anywhere. Just because you don't see Star Wars action figures in Target anymore isn't like reflective of anything. So stop trying to be like doom and gloom about it, I guess would be my biggest thing, is that I'm kind of just sick of like just the doom and gloom that some people are putting into it just because they don't like the current stuff. Because there is obviously a huge market of people that do like it. And so I would say the state of Star Wars is like, I'm not its target demographic, but it's still going pretty well. And it's going to continue going well after I'm, you know, dead and buried.
I'd say it's fine. I'd say the main thing probably keeping just Star Wars as a franchise alive right now is the hardcore fans. And,
well,
yeah.
Sure.
Like the hardcore fans who love Legends and are like, okay, like I guess even if Star Wars dies, like in canon, like Legends will always be there, right?
Well, just the franchise is always going to be there. Like, it's not like it's ever going to just like, you know, even if like, you know, they came out tomorrow and said, nope, Star Wars is canceled, we're not making anything new. Like, everything that has been made would still exist.
Yeah.
Like, even the canon novels, they would still exist. The people that like them, you know, would still, you know, have their stuff. It's like, you know, Star Wars, I think at this point is just it's so ingrained into our pop culture that anything short of like a meteor strike, you know, it's going to keep rolling.
Yeah.
It's basically, you know, because...
Where do you think it's going from here, though?
From here to the TV show, it's going to be, I guess, kind of similar moving forward in a way of like Marvel. I don't think they're going to make as many movies as like the MCU did, because I think they've kind of seen that like when you release like a movie every single year for something like Star Wars, it doesn't work quite as well. But I think they're going to move forward with like TV shows, obviously expanding on like the canon timeline and stuff, expanding with that, more books, comics, etc. TV shows, and I think they'll continue to put out movies. Like, it's not, I don't think Star Wars movies are gonna, I think it's stopped with like the whole, you know, yearly release, and I don't know if it's gonna go back to like a every 3 years type of thing or whatever. Obviously I don't know about that, but it's just, when it comes down to stuff like that, like, it's gonna keep going. Like, you know, there's gonna be more games, more just, you know, stuff that keeps coming out, and I don't think it's going anywhere. And like I said, I think in less than a decade, 10 years or less, we're going to start getting more like Legend stuff, and more of that stuff's going to start coming out. I don't think it's ever going to be movies or even TV shows. I just think that eventually they're going to start doing more novels, comics.
I would say that'll only happen if like canon just really starts to just, you know, just crash.
I don't even...
In terms of, like, just in terms of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like, popularity, I guess, and just people buying the stuff. You know, if that starts to really go down, they might just either throw out canon and bring back Legends, or just do more Legend stuff, maybe.
I think eventually it's just going to get to the point, like with, like it was with, like, Marvel's 616, their main universe, and their Ultimate Universe. Like, it's just going to be eventually to the point where there's just going to be two separate universes that are both just getting works. I don't think that one has to fail for the other one to succeed. I think, like, and I'd be perfectly happy. Like, I hope it happens where we get both timelines moving forward and everyone can be happy, because, and I guess a big thing that I could have said earlier, is that, like, when Legends, or when the expanded universe got put to Legends, like, it sucked. Like, you know, it wasn't fun. I don't want the same thing to happen to the new generation of readers who have, like, gotten invested in the stories that are coming out. Like, I don't want their stuff to stop. I want them to be able to keep enjoying it. Like, Star Wars...
Yeah, they'll know our pain then.
Yeah, even then. It's, you know, Star Wars isn't for, you know, any one hardcore group or another. It's, you know, it's a huge franchise that, you know...
But could you just imagine if Legends was the main continuity for Star Wars, and we'd gotten, like, movies that followed Legends continuity completely, you know? How awesome would Star Wars be right now?
Yeah, it would be really cool, but, you know...
Or do you think it would be better, or would it be similar?
Well, because I hate Dave Filoni, I think it would be worse. Because I think he would have been a lot more in charge of stuff.
Oh, Clone Wars would still be a thing.
Clone Wars would be a thing. The Dave Filoni, weird Dave Filoni canon would be a thing. Movies. And I don't want... True. I don't know.
I guess almost like Legends getting... Well, Expanded Universe getting relegated to Legends kind of almost, I guess, pushed Clone Wars out of the continuity, you know? Because now Clone Wars is canon.
Well, it's both.
Right, but it doesn't make sense for Legends, so just ignore it.
Yeah, basically. It's just, at the end of the day, like, I don't know. I don't want other, like, current fans of, like, the current canon to be, like, you know, feel that, like, you know, kind of, like, dumpy feeling of, like, their timeline doesn't matter.
I mean, it's not that bad anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely not fun. It's more fun when, like, your timeline is getting stuff, and, you know, if we started getting more comics and novels, like, I'd be happy with that. Like I said, I don't care about more movies coming out. Like, the original 6, well, basically, like, the OT and half of the prequels, like, you know, that's the basis.
Yeah.
And
so you've given up hope on the movies being good again?
No, because, like, stuff like Solo, you know, shows that, you know, if you have the right person writing it, it's gonna be a good movie. You know, if they made, like, a Knights of the Old Republic movie, probably wouldn't watch it, just because
it would, like, destroy everything you hold dear.
It's not even that. It's that it probably... I think just sometimes it's, like, you can have, like, this big bias in your head of, like, you know, going into it, like, you know, if say a Knights of the Old Republic movie was coming out tomorrow, I would be, you know, if it doesn't live up to Knights of the Old Republic, the video game, you know, then it's gonna suck and you're gonna hate that movie. I guess
we'll probably get a High Republic movie before we get a KOTOR movie.
Yeah, and I guess
we're already getting the TV show for it.
Yeah, and like I said, like, that might be something I'm interested in. Like, if the first episode, like, and since, you know, I think I said that in the last episode we did for Falcon and Winter Soldier, I don't pay for Disney Plus, so I'll watch anything that comes out just because it's free. So, you know, yeah, when that stuff comes out, I might give it a watch. And, you know, hey, it might be awesome. If it's awesome, cool, I'll watch it, and maybe that would be the catalyst to get me into High Republic, you know. Bam, right there. So, I think moving forward...
Anything's possible.
Yeah. I used to never think that there'd be anything good that would come out of canon. I was super pessimistic, and then bam, Mandalorian comes out, you know, hit show, everybody likes it, awesome show, you know.
Okay, we have to qualify it, though, that the show is just, like, you know, it's like it's barely passable. Like it, you know.
No, I wouldn't say
there are some shortcings on the show.
Yeah, but that's with any show. Like, not every... Well, except Breaking Bad. But not every show...
The writing is painfully simple. And actually, I'd seen something online that the writers or one of the showrunners or something like that had wanted the show to be like a simple D&D type story. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is.
Oh, I think that's totally fine. I think The Mandalorian's, like, a great show. And yeah, there are episodes I like and I don't like, but like I said, you know, not everything can be Breaking Bad. You know, if I wanted to watch, like, the mega awesome bestest show ever, I'd watch Breaking Bad. But no, Mandalorian, it's got, you know, characters I like, episodes I really, really like, and episodes I don't like. So, it is what it is. And I think, you know, overall, like, you know, it's just one of those things where I never thought that, like, I used to be one of those people that, like, swore off canon. I didn't ever want to, you know, read it no matter what. Even if it came out and it was the best thing ever, I would never have, like, picked it up and looked at it or read it. And then, like I said, like, The Mandalorian comes out and it's like, you know, it just kind of proves the point that, you know, anything can be good and anything can be enjoyable. And it doesn't have to detract from anything else you like.
Yeah. You would probably like the Thrawn comics. I would recommend that to you. Yeah. There is your word of mouth recommendation.
Awesome. Yeah, I could always give it a look. Readcomics.org does totally exist, which is a totally legit website, I swear.
Yes.
But with that, yeah, I suppose we could kind of just wrap it up. We kind of went on a little tangent there again at the end. But yeah, you know, drop, I guess, your comments, you know, if you know how you think Star Wars is going, you know, but try and do it. Here's my challenge: without being a dick. You know, obviously, and you know, this video is probably going to get like 50 views anyways. We're still a fairly small channel. You know, keep the comments civil, and you know, don't be a dick. And obviously, if you do like this video or any of the other stuff that we've been putting out, you know, you can really support us. You know, liking the video, dropping a subscribe to the channel. And if you're interested in any discourse, that is going to be right at the fingertips of my phone. The official Twitter for the Lore Council is down in the description as well. So,
yeah.
And obviously, feel free to check out the rest of our channel if you're so inclined. We have a fair amount of content on a fair amount of different franchises. So with that, this is Cade from the Lore Council signing off, and we will see you next time.
This is Keith. Hopefully the video makes some semblance of sense. And yeah.